Jism. What up, nation? Welcome to another edition of the WiseTake NBA DFS Wise Stream. CK013 here. You can find me on Twitter at CK_013. And I am joined once again by the GOAT, the true OG known to the WiseTake Nation as Paulie D. You can find him on Twitter at Paulie with 8 D's. Paulie, what's that?
What's up, man?
Not a thing, man. We got double lock happening in less than an hour, so got a bunch of teams to build and only so many minutes to do so in because, like you, I've had a chaotic morning. But that's pretty much every day in the life of Paulie and CK. With that said, we have two really good slates. Like with the baseball slate I already talked about, I like it. It's small. This basketball slate is probably, this is like, compared to what we had yesterday, compared to what we probably have tomorrow. This is an awesome slate. So this is it right here. This is where you want to make your money, at least in my opinion. What are your thoughts on tonight's slate?
Completely agree. We got most of the teams that need to play for something playing, so we shouldn't lose minutes on certain guys. Like we saw the Lakers started a whole, second unit in the second half today. A couple of those kind of teams out there as well, which are going to provide the value. And there's some plays that I think are awesome that I think are getting really overlooked. I think there's some real opportunity on this slate.
Yeah, I completely agree, man. At the moment, our my podcast spreadsheet's not working because Google Sheets just decided to be a straight bitch today. But the projections and everything should be up at wisestake.com. The projection sheet itself is fine. So we're going to resume with just these two beautiful mugs you see on the screen and do it dirty style. In the meantime, we're going to continue to go game by game as we always do. Just as soon as I pull up the fucking NBA games, I had the MLB shit up there. I was just about to get started with Baltimore. I was like, wait, there's no fucking Baltimore. First game, we've got the Milwaukee Bucks visiting playing the Memphis Grizzlies. We have a 231 total. That's risen 5 points since we've gotten the news. Memphis opened up -2.5. They're up to -3.5. We know Giannis is suspended from Milwaukee. We know Memphis is a team that does have to win. We'll start with the Milwaukee side, who has literally nothing to play for. Paulie, any interest in the Milwaukee Bucks?
No. Like, I think you can consider Sterling Brown and Pat Connaughton and Frank Mason. And I think there's better value plays throughout the slate. I don't think Middleton and Bledsoe get enough minutes to be viable. And some of like the fringier plays, I just don't know if they'll get enough minutes, like Giannis and Antetokounmpo or DJ Wilson. So those three guys, Sterling Brown, Pat Connaughton, and Frank Mason III, are the only Milwaukee guys I have any interest in, and it's 10% or less on those three.
Yeah, it's funny because like you get the feeling that Milwaukee's they're gonna play somebody a ridiculous amount of minutes. They did it last year, if you remember. Like at this point in the season, it's not gonna be the starters, whichever ones are even playing anymore. But you get the feeling that one of these guys, like I don't know, one of their backups is just gonna be out there and be a ridiculous play. But we have no direction on which player that could be. It helps that Illy's out, but still, like you said, we're sticking with the bottom feeders, if you will, and gonna avoid the starting guys. What about the Memphis side, man? This team highly motivated.
Yes. Really like John Morant, even at 9K. They're going to go as far as he can take them, triple-double upside, going to take a million shots, trying to get them to win. They'll probably, I don't think they run away with the game, but it's possible. That would be the only way, like, a play like John Morant doesn't go your way. Like Joval, like Dylan Brooks quite a bit. Like, he's either going to dud or smash his price because he's going to take a million shots as well. Very good DraftKings play. Brandon Clark with no Jaren Jackson Jr. Milwaukee, not a very good rebounding team. He's got pretty solid upside and minute projection. That's probably the extent of who I'm looking at. Clark, I think DeAnthony Melton, too, at 3.9 is somebody you could get like 5% of. But Brooks, Morant, Clark and Joe Val are the guys that I've got the bulk of my interest.
Yeah, I completely agree. As we mentioned, this is a team that is motivated, so this is going to be one of the teams that we'll focus in on and try to get some exposure to. Just a matter of which guys you prefer. And the traditional starters, we can work in guys like you said, like Melton, because they are still motivated. So guys that are in their rotation should be considered. Even a guy like Grayson Allen, I think, is in play. So there's like I think 3 teams that are playing for like real things, and Memphis is one of them. So these are the teams we're going to want to focus on. We'll move on to the next game, which is the Dallas Mavericks and the Phoenix Suns. We have a 238.5 total, up 4 points from 234.5. The Suns opened up -7. They're up to -8.5. We know that Dallas will be playing without Kristaps Porzingis. We will start with the Dallas side. Another team with no motivation. What do you got, Paulie?
Yeah, so I do really like Luka, but not as much as most of the other studs on the slate. He's like a 20% guy for me. But I expect him to play most of the game, maybe not the final few minutes unless it's close. Boban at 3.5 with no Kristaps. I believe he's announced as the starter, if not announced yet, but expected to be the starter. We've seen him in the last week of the season, I think, like at least one game every season go for 40 plus. This is that typical kind of spot. Trey Burke, another guy with upside, but his price, is a little higher than I think he, compared to other guys on the slate. So that's really it. Those 3: Boban, Luka, Trey Burke. Boban, I think I'm willing to take up to 30%, especially if he's announced as the starter, but it's risky. Luka, 20%, and Trey Burke, like a 10% guy.
Yeah, I see no reason that they wouldn't throw Boban out there. I feel a little bit more comfortable with him. I'm not much more. I mean, you're looking at 30%, maybe I'm around 40. But I do like Boban a lot because during the regular season, they had guys like Willie Cauley-Stein and Dwight Powell who can kind of take those minutes away. We were unsure. As of right now, the only real centers on this team is Boban and then Maxi Kleber, if you even want to really consider him a center. Phoenix is not that big of a team, so they could try to go smaller, but at the same time, there's nothing to play for. So why not throw Boban out there and see what he can do against a team that's been horrible against big? So I'm with you that he's the main value play here. I'm with you on Luka also. I think that I'm curious on what Luka's ownership will be. I'm assuming it's going to be high because there's no Porzingis and because there's going to be so much value that you could make it work. But I'm assuming that Dame, he's the one I'm expecting to be like the absolute chalk. Being that he's playing on a team that's motivated and he's been a freak lately. But with that said, there's no motivation. They haven't really shown us anything to say that as long as he's playing, he won't play his full minutes. But it's literally like there's nothing to play for, and you're going right to the play. I just don't see why you would play Luka the full duration. Either way, his usage is going to be crazy, you would think, without Porzingis. So it's Boban and Luka for me. What about the Suns side of the ball, Paulie? The Suns have looked awesome in this bubble, and they have to win. What are your thoughts here?
Yeah. And it's going to be on the strength of Devin Booker. He's had elite usage this entire bubble. His first run at the playoffs, they're going to live and die with him. He's been their go-to guy for many years now, and this is his first shot at, postseason. His price is elevated to where it should be now, but I kind of think this game will be close, and I think that Devin Booker will take every shot he has to get them to win. And has, one of the highest ceilings on the entire slate besides maybe Dame Lillard. I think Ricky Rubio's a nice pivot off, a nice, play with. DeAndre Ayton's got a great matchup. That's probably it. I think you could sprinkle in a little Saric, a little Bridges, but Booker, Rubio, Ayton. Booker, I'm going to go like 50% plus. Rubio around 25, Ayton around 25.
Yep. Again, you hit it right on the head with Booker. Expect him to play a ton of minutes. Expect him to do whatever is needed to win the game. DeAndre Ayton, phenomenal spot with him. Even if Boban plays, it's hard to imagine Boban playing at 30. So he's going to get some time out there with like Maxi Kleber, who's probably undersized for a player like him. So I'm cool with Ayton. I like the Rubio call simply because he's never popular because he's not really playing more than 30 minutes. But he's got the upside, and Dallas is not known for defense. So just like you said, just the fact that people aren't going to play him, but he's playing for a team that's highly motivated, and he's going to be playing at a high level. I like I like how that comes off. Dario Saric has also been playing really well. I'll throw that out there. His price has come up a little bit, so nothing crazy. But on FanDuel, power forward is bad, really bad. So he may come in handy more over there. We'll move on to the next game, which is keep on fucking with my screens here. Okay. We've got the San Antonio Spurs visiting the Utah Jazz. We have a 232.5 total, up 1.5 points from 231. The Spurs opened up -8. They're down to -7.5. A similar situation, right? One team has nothing to play for. That's Utah. The other team has everything to play for. That is San Antonio. We'll talk about the Spurs first, since they're technically the road team. What do you got here, Paulie?
Yeah, it's weird. No one seems to know that San Antonio has something to play for. Had written them off long ago and doesn't really believe that they're in this situation. But no one's really talking about them. They're talking about all the other three teams. If they need to win, the game's close. It's going to be DeMar DeRozan. He's probably going to be one of the lowest owned stud type players on the slate. I would recommend getting some. He could be one of the sneakier plays. Really like Lonnie Walker. Really like DeJounte Murray. Derek White, another guy you can get some exposure to. Rudy Gay. I don't have anyone on this team more than 20%. They just kind of feel balanced, priced right. And, Utah's already sat a couple of their starters. Feels like they're going to coast to victory. Slower game. I don't know. I'm not as into them for DFS because of where they're priced, yada, yada. But they probably will offer lower ownership. And, I wouldn't be surprised if one of these guys snuck onto the winning lineup today.
Yep, I completely agree. DeRozan obviously hasn't been as good as Booker, but he's got that type of upside when he wants to. He hasn't shown it a ton, but he does have it. DeJounte Murray and Derek White have both played pretty well in the bubble. White more early on, Murray more recently, since White has been dealing with a little bit of an injury. Poeltl's been playing a ton, and Gobert's not playing on the other side. Again, these are all Spurs players where the prices aren't bad considering the usage. I know it's not an ideal game with Utah. It's still a high total because Utah is resting, a lot of their better players. So I'm with you. I think they're going to be lower owned. It doesn't make sense to me to go 60% of these guys when I think, like you said, if you go 20 to 30, you're already probably overweight from what a lot of these guys are going to end up being. But certainly a team you want to have some of. When we talk about the four teams that are all playing for something, the Spurs are probably the least desirable against Utah, but this is a different Utah team we're going to see. I wouldn't be surprised if the pace was a little bit quicker here, being that there's no Gobert on the court. With that said, talk to me about the Utah side with no Gobert on the court. No Conley either. Or, I don't know. Who else? They played their guys for the first half for 14 minutes, and then that was it. Just a big fuck you to everyone.
Tony Bradley day, 3,400. I don't care if he starts or not. He always smashes in these situations. I'm playing a shit ton of them. After that, a little Manuel Mudiay. He's 3,300. Could see 25 plus minutes. A guy that started on other teams before. We've seen him fill up the stat sheets when he gets the time. And maybe a sprinkle of Jordan Clarkson. Maybe he just plays a ton because they're short on bodies. But we've seen them, bench him along with the starters in blowout games. So I'm not very confident in it. But Tony Bradley, my favorite play on the slate. Emmanuel Mudiay, 10, 15% kind of play.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. No Gobert, no Conley. Donovan Mitchell's playing, Clarkson's playing, but even though we have them up here for these minutes, it's hard to imagine them actually playing those minutes when they have nothing to play for. I agree with you on the what's his name, the center you were just talking about, fucking Tony Bradley. The last time though that me and you were very heavy on Tony Bradley was the last day before the bubble with the Rudy Gobert testing positive bullshit. That was the last time. So maybe today we get our Tony Bradley day, Paul. That was supposed to be Tony Bradley day. Ended up being the worst day in the history of the NBA. But I'm with you, man. He's a phenomenal play. He's the reason that I don't think I have to get when I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna play 80% bull bond, and then I saw him. And I was like, no, I'm going to leave some room because I think I want to play 80% Tony Bradley instead. So I'll have a lot of Boban, but there's also another center I want to play who we'll get to in that Portland game. But in the meantime, of the value centers, I would agree he's definitely my favorite. And unfortunately, it may be a Moutier day. We're already without Connolly. We don't expect Mitchell or Clarkson to play a ton, so that means we expect Moutier to kind of come up there. And he's extremely cheap, so as much as it sucks, it may be Moutier day. We'll move on to the next. We've got the New Orleans Pelicans and the Orlando Magic. This is the one game that means nothing for no one involved. We've got a 228.5 total. The Jazz are currently 4-point favorites, up from 3. Any interest in the Pelican side?
Yes. Really like Antoine Moore. He's 3,900, small forward, gonna start, gonna play 25 minutes, gonna have 25% usage. Very nice play. Really like Nickel Alexander-Walker and Frank Jackson at the guards. I think Nickel's the better player, more explosive. Frank Jackson a little more experienced, a little more crafty, does a little bit more assist-wise, steal-wise. It just depends who gets more minutes, more usage. Jahlil Okafor, another one of these cheap centers that's got major upside, played 26 minutes last game. And, when he gets minutes, he usually has big upside. Jackson Hayes, Nicola Melli, all options as well, but Okafor, Walker, Jackson, Antoine Moore are the ones I'm extremely interested in.
Yeah, I think we know that obviously no Ingram, Zion, Holiday. But I agree with you that some of these younger guys like Neil Alexander-Walker, Antoine Moore, assuming he does start, I don't think Redick played in the last game. I don't anticipate him playing a ton, so I think like maybe we see Josh Hart get out there and get to do some stuff. But definitely the younger players. I'm not as confident in nailing which one I think is going to go, and Orlando's always been a slower-paced defensive type team. So I'm not as excited about too many of these New Orleans players. But I do acknowledge that you're going to have to do some digging. It's not going to be as simple as only taking plays from the teams that are trying to win. There's going to be a player from one of these unmotivated teams, whatever you will, that's probably going to do the dirty and win somebody a GPP. What about the Orlando side?
There might be something there. I just can't figure out what it is. I think Markelle Fultz is worth getting some exposure to at 5,200. And then, Kem Birch had a really nice game last time out, 27 minutes, 30 points. He's 3,700. And then, Mo Bamba, they never play. He hasn't played more than, 10 minutes a game this year. Since the restart at 13 minutes. He's got massive upside if he gets the minutes. I think we've got multiple nice plays out there, at his position. I don't think we need to go there, but if you're playing a ton of teams, he's worth a bullet, I would say. But Fultz and Burst are two I want the most.
Yeah, I don't have anything different. Even with the guards, Markelle Fultz balled out in his last game, but he only had 19 minutes or 22 minutes or something like that. So they're being cautious. Obviously, they're going to the playoffs. So I'm with you. I'm looking at Kem Birch. I'm looking at maybe Mo Bamba just because he has upside, but not a ton here for me either. Last game here, one of the more exciting games, at least this particular player who has just been lighting up the NBA. We've got the Portland Trailblazers and the Brooklyn Nets. We have a 236.5 total that has not moved. Portland opened up -9. They're up to -9.5. Portland needs to win. They are currently the 8th seed. I think if they win, they're good, which is also something to keep in mind because their motivation could sway. They don't play until 9 o'clock. So if they see everybody else happen to lose, which is not likely, but if it happens, then they may not have to play as hard. But probably not even going to pay attention to that shit. In the meantime, Portland's got to win. Brooklyn, not so much. What do you got with the Portland side?
You just got to keep playing Dame Lillard. We've been on this guy all season long. There's no way we're jumping off on this slate. He does feel a little bit expensive, and, I don't know if they're getting pushed down to the wire. I'm not actually as high on him as, Booker and Ja Morant, but I will have plenty. I think Nurkic is a phenomenal play. Nice that he's power forward eligible because that's one of the weaker positions. I think a sprinkle of Whiteside, McCollum, and Collins is fine, but it's really just Dame and Nurkic that I really intend on playing.
Yeah. The Portland, definitely Dame. Like you said, the only reason I think to go under on Dame is if you think that because of popularity. If you know he's going to be popular, you're looking for a route for him to fail. You could argue the blowout route, and they just don't have to push Dame. But I'm not buying that shit personally. I'm going to live or die with Dame tonight. That's just if he does shitty, I will do shitty. I'm not backing off. Same thing with Nurkic. He's burned me a few times. DraftKings giving Nurkic power forward eligibility was huge because you could theoretically build a team now with Nurkic, Tony Bradley, and Boban, and have a couple really solid value options with one of the top studs. And it'll probably still help you find a way to get Lillard. So I'm liking the way that sounds. McCollum is playing with a back injury for ownership's sake. That's going to make him extremely low owned. Obviously, it's hard to pull the trigger when you know the dude's playing with a non-displaced fracture in his back. But I do think like Melo on FanDuel at 5,400 at a weak position, definitely someone I have interest in. These guys have something to play for. They got to win. And they're playing a team that has no defense whatsoever from any position. What about the Brooklyn side, Paulie?
I don't know, man. I know they're playing their guys again, and that means there's a lot of bodies that could get minutes. They got 0 to play for. Outside of maybe Joe Harris, Karis LeVert, if they do play the entire game, I don't have a ton of interest in anyone. Or, if like Justin Anderson were to start, he'd be a guy I could get some interest in. But right now, I don't see picking them over other guys on the slate.
Yeah, I agree. It's hard to take a definitive stand. LeVert's he's got crazy usage. Portland not a good defensive team either. I think the last game LeVert played, I think I was expecting them to not play the starters a ton against the Clippers, and they went out there and fucking balled, and LeVert did his thing. So for that sake, it's just if you think Brooklyn's just we're not gonna want to let it go. Then I guess because we talked about how Brooklyn's in the playoffs, but it's not like they're anticipating going anywhere. So we're not sure how they're going to treat the situation. I would assume that you would want to get guys like LeVert more playoff experience, all that kind of stuff, so go light with them. But I think I'm going to have some just in case, just in the event. They do know they have a chance to play spoiler. Some teams like to buy into that a little bit, a little playoff type atmosphere if they are willing, because Portland's going to be in that mindset. So LeVert would be the one dude that I may be willing to take a shot on. The rest, I'm with you. I'm not trying to play this guessing game. Chris Chiozza is ruled out, and the projections I have to adjust his minutes, knock him out, which means that Jeremiah Martin should play a little bit more. That dude, whenever the scrubs aren't playing, if we get word late that LeVert and all these guys are out, that Jeremiah Martin dude is a baller, man. Like he does it against shitty competition, but still he's a little baller. But if they're all in, I'm just not excited. That's going to do it for the game by game. I'll pop in now, see if there's any questions before we get up out of her. And we got a couple. Please hit the like button if you haven't already. Holla for $1. We got Tory J, Ja, or Ayton on DraftKings.
Ja or Ayton?
Yeah, I think he means Ja Morant or.
Oh, Ja Morant.
Ronnie Lewis, if Phoenix and Memphis win, will the Spurs be eliminated before they get a chance to play?
I don't think so. I think they have the same record as Phoenix.
They would be tied, so I don't know if there's any tiebreakers already set, right? Like if they're all tied, correct? It's like Portland's up by half a game, and then everybody else is behind them tied. I think that's what it is. I'll look it up real quick to be sure. But I thought that's what it was. Let's see, Western Conference action. So okay, they all have the same record right now. So if those guys win first, then I think the point here, like the Spurs would have to win to tie. So yeah, they'd be up half a game, but then the Spurs would have an opportunity to tie it. There may be a tiebreaker where the Spurs are just mathematically eliminated that way. I don't know of any at the moment, but yeah. I mean, I think they have the best division record. I'm looking at this thing. They have the best conference record. So unless they've lost too many head-to-heads against these guys, I don't think that they would just be knocked out just for that. I don't think so.
Yeah, and they made some strange like stipulations this year. Like the 9 seed could have been like 3 games out. They're still get a playing game, so something along those lines. So there may be like a 4-way playoff if they all win.
Yeah, something like that. Well, I mean, if they all win, then the Blazers would get it because they have a half a game lead as of now, right? So like that would solidify
Right.
them. So I think the Blazers, unless any of these guys play tomorrow, and it doesn't make sense. Like I'm looking at the wins and losses, and they don't really. It looks like there's a game or two missing, but either way, like I don't believe that to be the case. Let's see. Oh, okay. Tori J says no. The Spurs will be out. I don't see how that makes sense. If Phoenix and Memphis, like obviously, I know if Portland wins, then they're out. But if Memphis and Phoenix both win, again, unless there's a tiebreaker there. Right now, from what I see right now, they're all exactly 20 games out of first place, even. The Spurs are 32 and 38. The Grizzlies are 33 and 39. The Suns are 33 and 39. So if they win, they have 34 wins. The Spurs win, they have 33, but they have one less loss, assuming that the Spurs win. So it looks like the Spurs are just missing a game. Maybe they're playing tomorrow. Shit. Don't have my phone, so I can't check that at the moment. But look it up. Appreciate everybody contributing. Any viability in fading Dame to load up on guard value from Joe K?
Yeah, there's a chance they have that game sewed up by halftime, and the Stars don't make value. So, like, I love Dame, but they have the best chance of being up by 30 at halftime and him not playing.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Stars.
There's validity to it. Again, not an approach that we're taking. I'm going to be overweight on Dame. But there is validity to it, and this is the reason I'm not going 100% on Dame. Is there's validity, the viability is simply his ownership. I'm expecting Dame to have tremendous ownership because I think all the people that haven't been playing him on this run, if like today is the day you got to be willing to do it. It's at Brooklyn. They have to win. They're currently the 8th seed. It's not like they're chasing. They're not waiting. They have it in their own hands. They just have to win. So that's all they have to do. So I don't see. So that would be the the scenario. But and then Kellen Rice, yeah, if all the other 3 teams were to lose, then yeah, that could also have you scurrying to pivot off. But bunch of what ifs, but there is viability there. I prefer to ride with Dame because, again, like Paulie said, Dame kind of, we've been on him the whole season. It doesn't seem like a time to jump off. Holla. I don't see any other questions, Nation. We're gonna get up out of here. Appreciate those of you who've been grinding out this bubble regular season time with us. We have a slate tomorrow. It's probably gonna be some bullshit, but it's a slate. And then next time we talk to you after that, it'll be playoff city. So we'll have some really good competition to talk about. Some minutes that are much easier to project. Question from Moochie Mob Ties: Mitchell or Clarkson?
Mitchell, Clarkson, but I'd be surprised if either one of them played that much.
Yeah, last time the Jazz only played their guys in the first half. I don't see why they wouldn't do that again. But either way, I would prefer Clarkson because I think the usage will be similar and he's cheaper. So if he fucks me, it won't be as hard and long. Hard and long. For Paulie D, for myself, the entire WiseTake Nation, as always, good luck.